Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the show. We are on episode 333. It is October 5th, 2022, and I'm excited to introduce, we already been introduced, but I'm going to introduce him to the show, Kenny Monday, Olympic champ, Olympic silver medalist, and now the head coach at Morgan State University. They're bringing the program back after 25 years of a pause. And Kenny, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me back on, man. Love being on the Beta show.
Yeah, we love having you, man. Always a good time,
Yeah.
always good stories and conversation.
Yeah.
Let's kind of jump right into it. You know, Morgan State, you're going to be the head coach. You guys are going to be starting a year from now. But when did you get contacted? How did this develop? Was there options to be weighed, or was it kind of a no-brainer?
Well, no, definitely not a no-brainer. I mean, it kind of came at me late in the process. I was on the board. Of course, I'm on the BWA board, and when we first started talking about trying to bring the program back to an HBCU, so I was in that discussion and working with Kerry McCoy and Jai Jones and Mike Novogratz, and Nate Parker. We started talking about just the possibilities and putting together, the plan and, all the things that will go into it. And so just trying to search out, and I've talked to athletic directors and, at Howard and FAMU and Hampton, and just trying to see the interest in bring the programs back. And so, and when they asked me right off the bat, of course, I think, for a wrestling program to be at an HBCU and me being who I am and my story and the history of my journey and my career, being the first Black Olympic champion, I think immediately people came to me and said, "Hey, Monday, I think you'd be great for this," right? And I just wasn't ready, right? I wasn't ready. I never really, it's been a long time that I even thought about being a college coach, right? It really wasn't my thing. I really didn't want to be a college coach, right? I wanted to be a freestyle coach. I could do the RTCs, and I did that at Oklahoma State, did it at UNC, but not really interested in being a college coach, especially with my boys coming up, being wrestlers. I didn't want to be, at a college coaching kids and not being around to see my own kids, come up in the sport, right, once they started wrestling. And I had a club team and brought those guys in the sport. So I never really wanted to be a college coach in that level, right? And so, but when at the end of the day, when we started really getting close down, and we knew that Morgan State was bringing it back, right? He knew they were interested and they were bringing it back. The money was there and it was happening. And then the process started with the coaching search, and I was kind of on that and talking to people. And they at the end of the process, and they had a couple of candidates they're looking at and they interviewed, and some really good guys in there. But I think at the end, what really happened, and Nate Parker, I don't know if you know Nate Parker.
Of course.
You know Nate Parker.
Yeah. So
Nate Parker, yeah,
doing great.
OU, doing great, big movie producer. He kind of took it on. Him and Novogratz have worked projects together, and so Novogratz kind of put Nate on the board, and so he was kind of like instrumental in sorry about that.
All right.
Instrumental in the hiring process. So Nate came to me, and me and Nate, we've got a relationship. We've been talking for quite some time now, and I knew him back when he wrestled, and but I've been trying to get him to do the Kenny Monday story, right? Then Nate, you can play me, and you can do the Kenny Monday story, right? And so I've been on him about that. I remember when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, the UWW Hall of Fame in Budapest, and I was like trying to get him to come on. Nate, you got to get this footage, man, so you can add this to the story. So I've been on him, right? So we've been talking. So at the end, Nate came to me and said, "Kenny, we right at the end, man. I want you to really, really take a deep look at this, right? Really, because I think you're the best. I think you're the best guy for the job, And I think just the impact it's going to have. I think it's crucial that this first program is kind of the flagship program that is successful. We get a name in there that people can really gravitate to and have a big splash. I think you're the right guy for it, right? And so we had talked earlier about it, and I kind of gave him some, just some numbers and some things that would get me there, and so he kind of got there, but really, it was really more about just the significance of this program and what I could bring to the program. And so when I really looked at it and really thought, I mean, it went deeper than kind of who I am, right? And my journey kind of went deeper than that. I really started thinking about the impact that I could have being the head coach. And it got down to my soul. And he really got to me and kind of made me see the real significance of it. And so after that, then I'm like, okay, man, I'm in. So that's kind of how it kind of came out. And Novogratz came to me too, and he kind of thought that I would be the guy, and he would love to see me in that position. And so, end of the day, it was Nate Parker that really kind of got me, pushed me over the edge.
Yeah. Was there anything? Was there like one thing he said, or something, or a point, a specific point he made that was like, pling, the light bulb, or was it just kind of what you described, or it was like the course of the conversation got into your soul?
I think the course of the conversation got into my soul, got deep. Just like I said, just the significance of an HBCU. Just my story of being the first Black Olympic champion, and then just my impact on that I can have on the kids that we bring in. So that really resonated with me, and that really kind of made me think deeper into the process. And again, my thing is when my kids came up, I didn't want to be in a position where they had to choose where I was coaching, right?
Right.
And so I wanted them to make their own decision. And Quincy's got one more year at Princeton, right? Kennedy's done. Quincy's got one more year, and so I won't coach against them, right? Because we don't start until next year. We'll be done, right?
Yeah,
and so those guys are on their way, and so now the timing kind of made sense. It really worked out where I can coach and not coach against them or make them feel like they had to come be in my program, right? And so it kind of just worked out. The timing of that just kind of worked out.
Sure. And I believe it's been like a 25-year hiatus, right? They had a program, and
right.
I mean, I think we had 300 something D1 programs at one point, and obviously
right.
things haven't gotten slashed. But what do you remember, from your time as a competitor, or maybe even 25 years ago? I guess you were finished, but when you were competing, they had a program. What do you remember about Morgan State?
Well, it's interesting. I was on the radio show last night with the head football coach, which he actually wrestled in college. Cool. In high school. And so they invited me to be on the show. And, the last head coach that was here at Morgan State, his name was James Phillips. And I don't know if you guys are kind of young, but you probably don't remember this guy, but big guy, he was a big guy. He was actually a football coach, but he was also the wrestling coach at Morgan State. And in his signature, he wore this signature animal print vest. And that was just his signature deal. That's wherever you saw him, he had this vest on as he coached, right? But I made the Dapper Dan team, the Dapper Dan team back in, when I was senior in high school. And another wrestler, black guy that made the team, John Davis, he was on the team with me, right? He's from Maryland. And so we were the only black kids on the team. And so we gravitated toward each other, right? We hung out, got to know each other. And he was already signed to go to Morgan State, and I was signed to go to Oklahoma State. So I'm trying to get him to come to Oklahoma because he's a weight class above me. So I'm trying to get him to come to Oklahoma State, right? Be workout partners. And he's trying to get me to come to Morgan State. I'm like, well, man, I'm not going to Morgan State. You need to come to Oklahoma State, right? So we got at each other. But after that, we kind of stayed in touch. We were same year. But the coach, James Phillips, man, was just a great guy, man. Great guy, great leader. He never wrestled, but he was so passionate about the sport. And people that are around the sport know, the older guys like my age, and they know who he is.
Sure.
And he's passed away now, but he would always come up to me when I would see him. He would always come up to me and give me encouragement or give me a hard time. Like, Monday, you need to come with me, right? After my freshman year, I was seeded fourth my freshman year going to the national tournament, ended up not placing. He came up to see me. If he was in Morgan State, you'd have won the tournament. So he would give me a hard time like that. But he was always, man, so encouraging, and always just like every time I saw him, he'd give me a big old bear hug, and we talk and laugh, but he was just a gracious guy, man. But he was so passionate, as a coach, and so we had a nice little relationship there, and so that was another part of the reason that I looked at the position. I'm like, man, he would love it, right? He would be so excited to know that I am taking on, the next coach behind him as a head coach, and so. That's kind of what it was. But I remember when I was training for the '96 Olympic Games in '90s when it dropped, and I remember when it dropped. We were all brokenhearted because we never want to lose a wrestling program on any level, right? As wrestlers, and so we were all kind of brokenhearted. That was the last HBCU that had a program, and so we felt it. It definitely stung.
Funny how it's almost come full circle. You have your freshman year. Come on, and here we are. And you are that head coach.
And that John Davis guy, the same guy that was on the Dapper Dem team with, he was on the search committee, right? So I interviewed with him. Like,
no way.
The first guy I interviewed when I got here was John Davis, right? So he's so excited. I finally got you. I finally got you Monday. I finally got you at Morgan State. So he's really pumped up.
Took longer than you probably would have thought, and maybe a different direction than he originally thought. But here you are.
Right.
So you got about a full year because wrestling. We're about on the start of the wrestling season. You know, there's so much that go. There's getting a team together, putting a coaching staff, probably fundraising, marketing, more things than I can even think of.
Right.
What's the first thing or things that you try to do? Is it put a staff together? Is it start recruiting? Is it? And I'm sure all these things have to come, but what are the first steps to putting a program together from scratch?
The first thing for me was to get my feet on the ground, right, and get acclimated with Morgan State, the administration, how they operate, how they do business, and so that's really kind of the first order of business for me to feel good, feel comfortable, get my office set up, and to get me set up first, right, because it's a big job, it's a big gig, and college wrestling it's a tough job. I've been around. My first job was actually at Arizona State with Bobby Douglas right out of college. I went to Bobby and worked with him for a couple of years. Watched Bobby how he ran his program. Then I came back to Oklahoma State in '87, and I was training and watching Joe Say and kind of helping him and watching him and Bruce Burnett how they ran the program. Then after that, of course, working with John. As RTC coach, watching him how he ran his program, and then Coleman, and watching Coleman how he ran his program. So I've been around some really great coaches, and just kind of watching, taking notes, and kind of watching. Never wanted to get in my foot. Never wanted to really actually do it, and we actually had coached when I was coaching at Oklahoma State. With John, that 1 year we co-head coached and that whole thing. But and so just getting my feet on the ground. But of course, recruiting, I got to build a team. So that's kind of the first order of business in recruiting. Because that's just kind of natural. I wake up early in the morning these days, right? Thinking about what recruit I can go get, right? But the one thing that I'm really excited about, Mark, is, man, my phone. As soon as the announcement was made, my phone just blew up, right? And I had 500 messages on my phone just from kids all over the country, parents, kids, coaches. Excited about the program and giving me support and that whole thing. But a lot of kids said, Coach, I want to come to Wrestle Morgan State. I want to be a part of that program. So that's been really cool, just getting back to those kids before I even had to reach out to the kids reaching out to me. And so now I'm just following up with the kids that have reached out and getting those kids in and trying to bring them in for business and that kind of thing. But so that's the first order of business. I think that kind of goes on a daily deal, especially now with the timing of your recruiting time frame. And then putting together a staff is my next order of business. I've got some guys that I'm looking at and talking to, and guys reached out to me as well. So probably at the end of this month, it's October, right? October already. So end of this month, I'll open it up and open up the official position for assistant coaches, and we'll see who steps up.
All right. Man, you got me thinking Bobby Douglas in the mid '80s, and then John Smith, and on Coleman. from and you like watch the way Bobby ran a program. Well, the way Bobby ran a program in the '80s is probably and everybody, not just him, right? To what how programs are run today is a lot different, right? I think it's grown. I think it's more like a business, where you like there's a CEO mentality. And I guess what are the biggest differences from what it probably took to be a successful coach in the '80s versus today?
You're right. It's a whole new ball of wax. It really is. With the NIL deal and just the RTCs and the money that's flung around today that wasn't even in existence back then. So yeah, all those things are a new part of the program that you've got to pay attention to. You've got to really have good systems in place. But fundamentally, your program is ran through just your culture, building the culture of your team. You're trying to get your make an identity, with your team and kind of how you want that team to look, and building a staff with people that that you can work with. When I look around, I look at the staffs, in college wrestling now, and I'm a student. I study these guys, right? But you look at the Penn States, and these guys got a coaching staff that's been together for a long time. The Iowas have been together for a long time. The Minnesotas, the Oklahoma States, Wisconsin, Nebraska, with those guys. And these guys have put together a staff and they stay together, right? So those are guys that are doing the best in the country, and those are programs that you kind of have to model after, right? And so fundamentally, those things are the same. Putting together a great staff, the people that you like, that hold you accountable, guys that aren't afraid to tell you if you're messing up or screwing up. So those things are still in place, right? And that's what makes a great successful program. Now all this other stuff, I think you gotta go with the times. You gotta go with people.
Okay. We lost Kenny. Hopefully we can get him back. We're super excited, of course, to have him over at Morgan State becoming the head coach. I don't know what happened. We got no word here from Nico. You there? But I think to his point, like, becoming if he was to be a head coach in the '80s, I wasn't around college programs in the '80s, but I think it was more about just coaching and the hours you have at practice. And I think building a culture has always been important. But he, the things he talked about, the NIL deal. I don't know if you mentioned the transfer portal. That's big, and just the way that a lot of these successful programs are run like businesses, where there's fundraising is a big deal. Money is important, and we didn't get to talk about how much funding they have or will have at Morgan State, but hopefully it's significant. And the recruiting has probably changed. Yeah, recruiting's always been a big deal, but I think the approach to recruiting, I think the competitiveness in recruiting has probably been changed over the years, and flow and the internet and just the access to information and the access to following different athletes throughout their career and access to their wins and losses and to watching them and to seeing the results of what they've done. Just it's really changed the way that college wrestling is approached, and then a big point from that coaching standpoint. So we're still hoping we're hoping to get Kenny back. His call just dropped. I don't know if it power went out where he's at, or the internet cut out, or he's offended by me, which I don't think is the case, and I really hope isn't. But yeah, that's gonna be a text message from Kenny here, maybe. That's from earlier, so I don't know what happened, but a couple other things. Hopefully we get him back and get to talk to him. But I'm interested in figuring out how he's going to put his coaching staff together. And Kenny's a very well connected guy, as we know. He's, he wrestled in 3 Olympics, right? He won a silver, he won a gold medal. He knows everybody, seemingly, probably in the wrestling community, or most everybody. And we got him back.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm just rambling here.
All right.
Where were we?
I think we were just talking about just just everything with the programs and just kind of how things are done today, and
Yeah.
you know, the, yeah. So it's different. I think you just got to move with the times, right? I
Yes.
mean, it's amazing to me how easy it is for kids to get to you now, right? Anybody, right? The
Yes.
social media. I mean, these kids are on my, their own. I mean, they just anybody can just get to you, right? If you got a social media account, right? So it's easy for these kids, anybody, to get to you, right? So I mean, all over the world. So it's
Accessibility.
crazy. I got kids from Nigeria. I got kids from Japan. I got Russia. Look at me. Hey, I want to come wrestle for you. I want to come wrestle for you. So it's been an eye opening experience for sure.
Sure. And to that point, right? Is there consideration of there's a lot of foreigners out there who are really good and the opportunity to come to the United States and go to school and maybe get their education paid for. Is that an avenue that you're open to looking into?
Absolutely, beta. Absolutely. I'm open to yeah. If it works and it makes sense, I feel like the kids can come in and and thrive in this culture. It's definitely, I'm open for anybody, and that's just the thing. I mean, it is an HBCU, right? And so it's predominantly black school, and so it's a different culture than your predominantly white schools. So the kids got to feel comfortable being in this environment. It's like it's just different, right? And I,
Yeah.
I remember when I was coming through as a college, there was a HBCU down the street from Oklahoma State, Langston University. And so I would, every once in a while, we had some time off. We'd go down to Langston,
Yeah.
right, and hang out, right, and step shows, and just that black culture is just, it's a different culture, right? It's a different environment, and so, but it's a great college, it's a great school, and I'm open for anybody. I've got white kids call me up and want to come. I got Hispanic kids call me up want to come, and so it's not like it's a school, and I think people don't quite understand, but it's not just a school just for black students. So no, but we're open for business, and we will have a great team. We'll build a great team, and it's going to be fun, right? It's going to be
Sure.
fun. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it. As a matter of fact, the head the vet the on our football team, the quarterback is a white guy, white kid. So he's a good player. So it's
Yeah.
it's so
So
easy.
maybe describe that culture to somebody like me, right? I went to a predominantly white school, and you talked about that school down the road from Oklahoma State, and you
Yep,
know,
Langston. Yep.
yep. What is that? Can you describe that culture and some of the things that just make it different and especially for somebody who's interested in going to Morgan State and like what is a different? Okay, you can say different culture, but what does that mean,
Right.
right?
Right. I think just you just take the band, right? Just look at the band. I don't know if you've seen the HBCU bands and how they operate and how they play, and it's different, right? It's great. It's more a culture with the music that they play and how they dance and that kind of culture, right? Yeah, you get the fraternities. With the fraternities, and the Omega Psi Phi's and Alpha Phi Omegas and the Kappas, so it's a different. They have step shows, and right, it's really, I don't know if you ever seen it. Have you ever seen the step shows
I'm
from?
familiar. Not, I haven't sat down and watched a whole one, but I do know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So that's part of the culture that you won't see, on the predominantly white schools. But so that's the kind of the culture that I'm speaking about, and it's just it's predominantly black, so it's different than going to Oklahoma State or going to Iowa, where it's different, right? So that's kind of culture that I'm talking about. You see it with the fraternities, and you'll see it with the bands and how they play the music and how they march and how they dance, and so that's kind of the difference that I'm talking about.
Sure.
But
Um,
everything else, it's a great school. I mean, the classes are classrooms, and the education is the same, and so it's just that's those things aren't different.
yeah. To the part about building a coaching staff, right? I
Hmm.
was saying this in the minute or two we were disconnected. You're like one of the most well-connected guys in wrestling, right? You know probably everybody, or you're one phone call away from if you don't know them.
Right.
So are you thinking about when you think about your staff, are you thinking about people you know well, you're close with, some people maybe you're distant with, some people maybe you don't really know, but you think they could be a good coach? Have you given thought to how the makeup of this coaching staff may look?
Yeah, the whole gamut. The whole gamut. Of course, when I first got the job, I'm thinking about the guys that I know well, like the Kevin Jacksons and the Nate Park. The guys that I know, right?
Yeah.
Um, the Olivers, that kind of thing. I think about the guys that I got experience with that I know well, that
Yeah.
I know would be a great fit for me because we think alike, we work alike. You know what I mean? So Kevin was the first guy I thought about, but he just moved to Michigan, so he's kind of doing his thing there, and he's got kids, so it's just kind of he's not really in position to do anything different, right? And then it's just people that's reached out to me, and so different guy like Tion Ware, thought about Tion, and I think he's on the move now too. So because he interviewed for the job as well, he was like one of the final interviews for Morgan State, and I've been knowing Tion since he's a kid in Oklahoma. I recruited him to come to Oklahoma State. So I've been knowing him for a long time. And so it's guys like that I immediately thought about. Now it's just about reaching out to who's available, because it's not a lot of guys available.
Yeah.
I want somebody that knows the game, has experience, and been coaching. That's got passion, still passionate about coaching. I talked to John the other day, and he's like, I was like, John, I'm asking you for a match in the next couple of years. And I said, well, you better hurry up, man. I'm tired. After 30 years, I'm tired, brother. I'm tired. And so just people that are still passionate, ready to coach. And this is a big job, man. It's a big job. We got to get out there and get these kids. We got to coach them up. But there are some people that have reached out to me, right, white and black, that people will be maybe kind of surprised about or not. But there's some guys out there that I'm looking at. That I think will make a great addition for me and my staff. I need somebody that's, again, passionate, that's organized, that love the game, love coaching, and are ready to win, right? That's the one thing that people know about me is wherever I've gone, we won, right? We won on a high level. So I remember even being at Bobby Douglas. I went to Bobby Douglas in 1980 when I finished in 84. I was out there 85, 86, some of 87. And I came back to Oklahoma State at 87 to start training because I couldn't get workouts. But I ran a lot of those practices. Eddie Urbano was Bobby's first national champion in 1985. I worked that dude every day. I was his main workout partner. But of course, we wrestled the year before and in the semis in the national tournament. But he was my main competitor. I pushed that dude over the top. He won a national title that next year. Then Bobby ended up winning a national team championship in 1988.
Yep.
Right. But all those was my guys. All those guys I trained a lot. I recruited Zeke Jones there when I was there. But then they won in 88, and I came back to Oklahoma State. We won in 89 and 90. So wherever I've gone, we've won. Right. And so there's no exception. We will be winning at Morgan State. I can promise you.
I like to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a little bit, and NWCA All-Star, right? It's back. Yep. Your son's wrestling in it. That's like going to be a legacy match, but you wrestled in it, right? Yep. And maybe just describe to me the prestige of this event in the 80s and 90s. And, it went away for a few years, but we're glad it's back. But, why did you want to wrestle in it? How big of a deal was this All-Star event in your competitive days?
Yeah, first off, I'm glad you guys are a part of it, and it changes the game, right? It changes the game a whole lot. But it's a nice honor from your work, right? So it's really you're honoring the people, the wrestlers that have put the work. If you made that team, obviously you're doing some winning, you're doing something right? So you're at the top of your game. You're that top guy, that top 1-2 guys in the country. So that's just recognizing. Those guys, those wrestlers that have put the work in, had some success. You got, 1 or 2, the top 2 guys in the weight class. And so it was fun back then because you're still very competitive. You still want to show the world that you're the best guy in the country. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you get guys that you hadn't competed against, right? That you've been wanting to wrestle. Just for instance, Quincy and David have never wrestled, right? They were headed to the to wrestle, last year the NCAA's, and we thinking they were going to hit in the semis. But of course David got upset in the second round, and then we didn't get that match. They've been wanting to wrestle each other for a while, right? And so now we finally get that match, and I'm glad it worked out. Had to go through some things, some things, but they finally got it worked out. I'm glad they did. Yeah. So now it's a prestigious match, and I'm glad it's back. I think it's bigger and better with you guys involved. It's going to be bigger and better. You guys can really, put it out there and promote it the right way, and really give these guys their due, and sell this deal where people want to see it, right? Because it got to a point where kids, people wasn't wrestling. They didn't want to wrestle. It was early in the season, and coaches were pulling kids out, not letting them wrestle, and so it got to a point where you wasn't getting the best guys, right? You wasn't getting the two best guys in the weight class. The guys were wrestling, and so that was a big difference, right? So I'm glad it's back. You got two best guys wrestling. The guys want to wrestle. Got some incentives now, So yeah, it's bigger and better than ever because of you guys.
Well, hopefully, we'll see. But we're definitely doing our best. We've taken some trips. We're trying to make it cool, gather some promotional materials, promote it in a way that's fun and exciting and shows off these kids' personalities and what they've done and build up these matches. So
and that's what moves wrestling. That moves us into the 21st century. That puts us where we need to be, where people can see it and get excited about it, and make it a big deal. I mean, that's what wrestling needs. We've always needed that, and that moves us to where we need to be. And it keeps moving the ball. And we keep moving the ball down the field, right? And that's where we need to be. So I'm excited.
We want them to care. Ticket. You got your ticket?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, not my ticket, but I let Joe call me the other day in Dubuque and said, "Hey, you guys going?" I'm like, "I ain't missing that one." It's so funny. Check this out. So the car, that whole car Monday, it's like the Hatfields and McCoys, right?
Okay.
And so when I did my press conference here, Nate's younger brother, he lives in the area, Solomon, and showed up at the press conference, right? And so he was here, and he's all excited about the deal. And at the end, he goes, "Hey, I'm going to the All-Star match. I'll see you there. I'll see you at the All-Star match, right?" So that rivalry continues, man. He's like, he had that look in his eye, like, "I'll see you at the All-Star match." And so, we're excited.
You obviously, right? You and Nate had a history. Can you just kind of, you don't have to go, I'm sure we could spend a whole entire show just talking about just that. Right. We don't need to dive that deep. But what do you remember about your guys' rivalry? I know it was back and forth in college, maybe kind of tides turned afterwards, but yeah, what do you remember most about that? What did you like about the wins and the losses?
It was always healthy, man. It was always Nate made me better. He made me great, right? He really did. He really made me great. He just because he was such a fierce competitor, right? When the first time I wrestled him, it was my sophomore season. He was defending champ, and so that's kind of where it started. But just a fierce competitor, man. I knew I had to get up in the morning and train. Kept me up at night training, so I had to be at my best to even compete with the guy, let alone beat him, right? And so we were good for each other. We pushed each other, man, to that level, that next level. And it was so cool the way our story circled back around to where we were actually training partners, right? Because after he made the decision to go down in '88, then we became training partners for that to get ready for the Olympic trials. He had to beat Mesker and I had to beat Dave Schultz. And so, man, we think, and people don't know. I mean, people that were at Oklahoma State at that time, they seen it, right? They witnessed it. They witnessed it, John and she said they witnessed our battles. They knew we were battling in matches, but nothing like practice. Because practice, when you're training, there's no pressure to win, right? I mean, you want to do well, but it's different training in wrestling. Is practice. It's sort of a match, and so those practice sessions were like phenomenal. Man, I wish people could see those. Right? People haven't seen our matches; they're not out there like that, but if people could have seen our training sessions, they would be blown away. They'd be blown away.
Wish we had like a video
And
camera
we
back in the
became good
day.
friends. We came, even though we always competed hard, we was always cordial with each other. We'd always speak to each other, always wish each other the best. See you in the final. See you in the final. It was always healthy, right? And it still is today. We still, I love the guy.
Do you know off the top of your head how many times you guys wrestled, and maybe the final tally?
Man, it's got to be. I know Dave and I wrestled 15 times. I think Nate and I wrestled like 16, 17 times probably.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? And I think I got the edge. I beat him the last 2 times we wrestled. Of course, he got those 2 NCAA titles, both of them overtime matches. I beat him in the duels. He beat me in the tournament. But I got the last 2. That's all I remember. I got the last 2.
Were those last 2 in freestyle?
They were, 87 World Team Trials. I coming up the ladder because he beat me in the U.S. Open. That was the last time he beat me, and I was winning the whole match, and he hit me with a kick through move for 3, and ended up winning that match. And then 87 U.S. Open was the last time he beat me, and then I beat him in the World Team Trials in '87. Beat him 2 straight matches, beat him 5-1 and 8-0, and that was the last time we wrestled.
I'm so glad that we have that us, but anybody exists that can capture this today and put it out there for forever, because like it's just gone. If it wasn't recorded or maybe somebody has it sitting on a shelf collecting dust, or maybe somebody's watching it at their home, but they're not on the internet.
I know. I've searched it. I'm like, man, who's got? And I don't even have. And of course, I'm looking for them. I don't have our matches from the 87 World Team Trials. I got all of my Schultz matches, 87 World Team Trials. And that was the last year Dave Schultz beat me, too.
Yeah.
It was in 1987 World Team Trials, the last time he beat me. But I don't have those matches. I'm looking for them. And I got our finals matches in the NCAAs. I got our dual meet match, one of our dual meet matches. I don't have those last 2 matches in 87, so I'm on the hunt for them. If anybody out there has them, let me know. I'll pay top dollar for them.
I would say call Doc Bennett.
I know. And Doc's got everything, man. Doc's got everything. He's tight with stuff too, man.
Yes, he is.
I mean, he's like pulling teeth. Yeah, he's like pulling teeth to get it from him.
Oh man, maybe one day we'll get these archives and have a little.
It'd be worth seeing.
A marathon.
It'd be worth seeing. Yeah, of course, we're not like we were then, right? Because back then you could videotape everything. I practiced it. I wish we had those. That's some footage, man, that people would be blown away by. Right?
What do you remember? And I maybe how did he wrestle? Was he a double leg guy? Was he a single leg guy? Was he a throw guy? Do you remember some of the wildest exchanges?
Nate he's the fastest guy I've ever wrestled, quickest guy I've ever wrestled. I mean, he's so explosive, man. If you go back and watch some of his matches on his duck, he had this duck under that he does, man. That it's like a duck to one side, he comes back to the other side, he goes body like he hit Mesker with it. I think people have seen that. And he hit Mesker with it, man, and just planted him and so Nate, and I got to a point where I knew he was so fast, I would have to react after he got there. But he was so fast and explosive, and of course his legs was like little tree trunks. So if he got under you, if he got to your body, you were in the air. And I remember watching his brother. Not Joe.
Jimmy?
Huh?
Was it Jimmy?
Jimmy. Yeah, I remember watching Jimmy as a kid, because I watched him make the Olympic, not make the Olympic team, but he was at the U.S. Open. They called it the U.S. Open in Stillwater. When I was a kid, I was 10. I'd go watch him. I watched him wrestle and was just blown away. Right? I got his autograph and just watching how he would duck and get to the body and throw. I mean, he was just just a thrower. He had the greatest hips. I remember watching him as a kid. I'm like, man, I want to wrestle like that dude, right?
Yeah.
And it's got to come back around and then have to wrestle his brother years later. It was just like, here we go, right? And Jimmy was phenomenal, man, phenomenal with his hips. And Nate wrestled a lot like him. He wrestled a lot like him as far as ducks, getting to the body and getting you up to snatch singles, getting to the body. He was just a dangerous guy.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been fantastic, and I appreciate you coming on. I just had one thought about the All-Star. If I talk to some people, maybe we can set up like a reunion match. Like
Yeah,
one
I'm good.
last
I'm
keg
good,
versus
dog. I'm
Nate.
good.
Bring your
I can tell you
shoes.
this. Look, I'm 60, but when I was at UNC, I wrestled more than Coleman. I wrestled more than Tony Ramos. I wrestled more than Jamil Kelly. I wrestled more than any of those dudes, all them coaches. Go ask them. I actually wrestled the kids more than any of those guys in RTC practice. I wrestled more than any of them.
I've
Still.
seen you on the mat. I've seen you on the mat. I'm like, this dude's 60 and he still moves like incredibly well. So
I can still hold my own. You ain't gonna just come through and then run through me, right? Now I wrestle more than any of those guys, so I still got it, man. I still got it to do that. I still can think I got another 10 years in me, but I'm ready. Somebody said something about that before, right? When you guys are doing cards and the whole
yeah.
thing, and I'm like, dude, I can do that. Tell Nate to suit up. I'm ready. I'm not wearing a singlet. But
No, we'll do the shorts and the
yeah,
the shirt.
yeah. Set it up. Put it out there. I'm ready.
All right, I'm
I'm
I'll, I'm,
ready.
I'm gonna give Nate a call right
Find me a
now.
match. Find me a match.
I know the match. I want
Yeah.
you. It's Nate Carr.
Call him up.
All right.
I'm
What
ready.
weight? What's the weight class?
Unlimited. I don't care. Catch weight. I'll
All
make
right.
whatever.
We'll make a catch weight. We'll set it up.
I'll make whatever.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, this has been great. I'm talking about Morgan State and back into
Yeah.
college coaching and
Yeah.
bringing that program back and hopefully, having a bunch of successful years in front of you then. And yeah, the upcoming All-Star and the rivalry with Nate Carr, which will be reignited here in Austin, Texas on November 22nd.
Right. That's right. I'm so pumped up. I think our families are excited. And then I'm excited about the NCAA tournament coming back to Tulsa, right? All of our kids were born in Tulsa. It's my hometown. I'm so excited to be going back to Tulsa for Quincy's senior year, man, senior campaign. My dad lives like 5 minutes from downtown Tulsa still. So we're excited about that. We're really excited about that, man. We're pumped up. Right? But yeah, man, I'm excited about Morgan State wrestling. I think people will be surprised at the team we put together and how quick we jump into the competition. I got to find a conference, right? That's something that we're working on now, trying to find a conference. What conference do you think we should get into?
Were you guys in the Colonial back in the day? Is that right?
I'm not for sure. Dude. I know we're
Yeah.
independent. I don't know. Was it Colonial? Was it?
I thought I read that, but I don't quote me on it. I could be mistaken.
Yeah.
And maybe they could bring the Colonial back. Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know what teams are in there, what schools are there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
I'm thinking about maybe the MAC conference is something that I'm looking at. Right, that's a conference that I would that's
Feel good being in the MAC.
yeah. I think so. I think Bloomsburg. Who else is in there? Ohio, Cleveland State.
Yeah, I think Kent State's in there, and
Kent State's in there.
yeah, good conference.
So that's a good conference. I think Buffalo, Central Michigan, Lock Haven, Ryder, Bloomsburg, Edinburgh, George Mason, Clarion. So that's one we're kind of looking at. That kind of makes more sense with the East Coast. And so it's kind of trying to get in where we fit in. But we're coming, man. We're coming. I want you guys to be at our first match.
Hey, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
You
guys upset Oklahoma State first match. Take John.
Imagine that.
That would be something. that would be the best recruiting tactic you could ever do.
There you go.
Sweet.
I'm coming to win. Believe that.
Yeah, I believe it. I know it, man. You've had success everywhere you've been. So we'll give you the final word, Kenny, before we let you move on with your day. But anything you might want to say?
I'm excited about the future, man. I'm pumped up. People think that Monday's moving around, but I think I've found a home. I know I found a home, right? And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of a challenge. I'm not afraid to take a risk. I'm definitely not afraid to do that, right? And so, but yeah, I found a home, man, and we're going to build this program. We're going to hopefully we'll be the flagship program, and hopefully we can get a few other HBCUs to start a program, and that's the goal, of course. But we've got to be successful. We got to have a sustainable program, and so that's the focus, right? And so I just want to say I want to thank everybody that's reached out, man, and really wish me the best and offer their support. It's been amazing. It really has. All the coaches, man. It's been really cool hearing from them, right? And so I'm excited. I'm excited about the future of Morgan State.
We're excited for you, man, and to see this come together and rise. That's right. So great. Thanks so much for coming today, Kenny, and best of luck to you guys. We'll be watching you.
We'll see you. We'll see you in November.
Yes, we will. All right, take care.
Get that match together.
I'm calling Nate
Get
right
that
now.
Match.
Hey, Nate. I got Kenny.
Peace.
Thanks.
It ain't easy. It ain't easy. It ain't free.
Okay, fair enough. All right, have a great day.
Peace. Yeah.
All right, see ya. All right, folks, that's going to do it. A great show today with the legendary Kenny Monday. Really excited to see what he's going to do at Morgan State University and put that program together and take him to new heights. So that's going to do it for today. We're out. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.